Ever found yourself like weaving between buildings, wondering how your phone's clinging onto a signal?
Yeah, it's pretty
It
amazing.
really is. And the answer,
MIMO spatial diversity.
MIMO spatial diversity. We're taking a deep dive into that today.
It's really the key behind those like super reliable wireless connections.
It's what makes those connections faster, more reliable. So let's unpack that.
Yeah, let's do it.
MIMO, multiple input, multiple output. Okay, I know all the acronyms, but
Yeah.
for our listeners who maybe haven't encountered this before, what are we talking about here?
So basically imagine your phone, right? And it's got, instead of just one antenna, it's got multiple antennas.
Okay.
And each of those antennas is acting like an ear, picking up different parts of a data stream.
Oh, interesting.
And so it uses those multiple paths to overcome fading.
So instead of being a problem, reflections actually become useful.
Reflections, they actually work to our advantage with MIMO.
Okay, so how do you actually use that?
It's kind of like, when you're in a room and there's like a lot of echoes,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to hear.
It's like that classic, you're in a concert hall.
Exactly. It's like all jumbled up.
Yeah.
MIMO spatial diversity is like having multiple listeners in different spots.
Yeah.
So each one's hearing a slightly different version.
Gotcha.
And then it combines them together to create this like really clear.
So it's about redundancy. It's about making sure that no matter what kind of crazy obstacles those radio waves encounter,
Exactly.
you're still getting a clean signal.
You got it.
That's really fascinating.
And that's just one type of MIMO.
Oh, really?
Yeah, MIMO is like
There's a whole family.
there's other ones like spatial multiplexing and
Okay.
interference alignment.
So tell me a little bit about what those are. What are the other flavors?
Yeah, so spatial multiplexing, that's all about boosting your data rates.
Okay.
And then interference alignment is about coordinating the signals so they don't interfere with each other.
Wow. So it's like MIMO is like a Swiss Army knife of wireless technology.
Yeah, you could say that's a good way to put it.
There's so many different ways that it can be used to enhance those signals.
Exactly.
But today we're really focusing in on spatial diversity.
Yes.
This idea of using those multiple antennas to get a clean signal.
Yeah, that's the hero behind your reliable Wi-Fi and your seamless mobile connection.
Because I was going to say, like, where do we actually encounter this in our day-to-day lives?
It's everywhere.
I'm assuming it's not just in phones, right?
No, like all those Wi-Fi access points you see with like antennas sprouting out of them.
Oh, yeah, they're getting crazier and crazier.
That's MIMO spatial diversity.
Really?
And those distributed antenna systems that they use in stadiums.
Oh.
So you can, watch the game, you don't miss that game-winning touchdown.
That's so interesting to think that something that operates at the level of radio waves
Yeah,
has such a tangible impact on our daily lives.
it's pretty cool.
And I think, for me, it really just highlights how much we take for granted
Yeah,
this, like, invisible world
for sure.
that's making everything work.
Seamlessly. Behind-the-scenes magic, right?
Yeah, it really is. So enough with the appetizers. Let's dive into the main course here.
Let's do it.
How does spatial diversity actually work? Let's unpack this. So we've got all these antennas acting like specialized ears, wrangling these radio waves.
Exactly.
But how do they actually bring these signals together?
Okay, so imagine you're at a concert, right? And instead of just having one microphone picking up the music, you've got microphones all over the place, strategically placed around the venue.
Okay, so multiple microphones, giving you a richer sound, I imagine.
Exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
you're getting a much more complete picture of the sound.
Okay.
So in the simplest form of spatial diversity, it's called selection diversity.
Okay.
The system's constantly analyzing the signal from each microphone,
Right.
and it just picks the best one at any given moment.
So it's like an audio engineer just constantly switching between feeds.
It's like having a super fast audio engineer.
Right, exactly. That's a good way to think about it.
That's instantly picking the clearest, strongest signal.
Wow, okay.
But what if, instead of just picking one,
Yeah.
we could combine them all?
Oh, interesting.
That's what maximal ratio combining does, or MRC.
MRC.
Yeah, it takes
Okay.
all those signals, even the ones that have a little bit of noise in them.
And blends them together to make a super signal.
Exactly. It combines them in this really intelligent way.
How does it do that? Because that sounds incredibly complicated.
Yeah, so each microphone, right, it's capturing a slightly different version of the sound.
Right, because they're in different positions.
They've got different timings, different intensities, and MRC algorithms analyze those differences, and they basically align the signals in a way.
Oh, wow.
So the part of the signal that you want that gets amplified
Okay.
and the noise gets canceled out.
So it knows what's the signal and what's extraneous.
Exactly.
That's incredible. that we can even do that.
It's pretty wild, and the result is you get this much stronger signal and way fewer dropouts.
Fewer dropouts, that's something I think we can all get behind.
For sure.
So that's for receiving data. What about when my phone needs to transmit data?
Ah, that's where transmit diversity comes in.
Transmit diversity, yeah.
Yeah, so now it's the other way around. The transmitter's using multiple antennas to send out the signal.
So it's sending out multiples of the same signal.
In a way, yeah, it's sending out different versions of the signal.
Okay, so what's the advantage of that?
So that even if some of those signals run into interference and get messed up, the other ones are more likely to make it to the receiver.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's like a shotgun approach almost.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
Okay.
It's about increasing the chances that something gets through, clearly.
But how does the transmitter know where to send the signal if it can't see the receiver?
Ah, that is where the magic of channel reciprocity comes in.
Channel reciprocity. There's a lot of fancy words being thrown around here.
Yeah, it sounds complicated, but
I know. This is great, though. Keep going.
it's actually pretty intuitive.
Oh.
Basically, the transmitter, it analyzes how the signals bounce back from the environment.
So it's listening to the echoes of its own signal.
Exactly. And it uses that information to figure out the best path for the signal to travel.
So it's like an echolocation system, but for data.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
That is really, really cool that it can do that.
And it's constantly learning and adapting to the environment.
So it knows where to send the signal.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it make sure the signal actually arrives correctly with all this bouncing around?
Okay, so you know how we were talking about microphones at a concert earlier?
Yeah.
This is where it gets even cooler.
Okay.
Imagine two dancers now moving in perfect sync with each other,
Okay.
mirroring each other's movements.
I like where this is going. Okay. Two dancers in perfect sync. I'm picturing it, but how does that apply to sending data?
So in the Alamouti scheme, the transmitter's using two antennas, right? And it sends out different versions of the data at the same time, but it's like a carefully choreographed dance. If one of those signals gets hit with interference, gets messed up, the receiver can use the other one
Oh,
to
interesting.
reconstruct the data.
So it's like a backup dancer that's perfectly in sync.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
They've always got each other's backs.
So even if one stumbles, the show goes on.
Exactly. And you never even realize it's happening.
So all this is happening behind the scenes.
All this complex stuff, yeah, just so you can stream your favorite show without a hitch.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. It really is.
Yeah, and it just works.
It just works. So MIMO, unsung hero of our connected world,
That's a good way to put it.
making everything smoother, from those video calls
Yeah.
to online gaming, all more reliable.
It's essential, really, for how we use the internet today.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground. For those tuning in, what's the one thing you want them to remember about MIMO spatial diversity?
It's really changing how we connect with everything. You know, it's making wireless communication faster, more reliable, you name it.
And this is really just the start, right? We've talked about using it for reliability,
Yeah.
but you mentioned other applications.
Yeah, there's so much potential with this technology.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, imagine if instead of just blasting a signal everywhere,
Right.
we could tailor it for each specific user.
Oh, wow.
So it's like you're getting your own personal beam of data.
Like a customized data stream.
Exactly. That's just one example, though.
So it could be using it not just to improve what we already have, but to do completely new things.
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting about this field.
It's not just about incremental improvements. It's about these completely new possibilities.
Yeah, the future of wireless communication is looking pretty bright, to say the least.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I like that a lot. A huge thank you to our expert for breaking this down.
Happy to be here.
And to our listeners, keep those connections strong. Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive. We'll catch you in the next one.